Welcome to the Strategic Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Macias, and today we have a special guest. His name is Jeremy Hunka. Jeremy, it's great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. I'm excited to be here.
Jeremy, let's take it back to the beginning. Give us a little bit of an overview on what the business is that you acquired.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. A little bit over 2 years ago now, acquired a net refinishing company. What's for us is we're basically very high-end refinishers, fancy painters. We take existing and we turn looks basically like brand new cabinets. We can use existing doors, we can give new doors, but either way, our end product is not something that looks painted. It's something that looks like it's brand new. So we restore the wood, we repair the dents and dings, and we give homeowners mainly back a kitchen that looks really beautiful.
Right. Let's talk about the acquisition itself. Obviously, with every acquisition, there's typically a struggle story there. And I heard there was a bit of struggle. So I want to touch a little bit on that. Talk to me about the long commutes that you had every day.
Yeah, definitely plenty of major heartburn throughout the process. Really, one of the biggest ones being, or at least the one that made all the other problems feel harder, was the fact that, yeah, the business I bought is about 70 miles away from home, which when I was buying a business felt reasonable. It was, I don't know, an hour and a half or less of driving each way, but I don't know, 3 to 4 hours a day really does start adding up. Dark of winter, early mornings, we're a contractor. So yeah, 70 miles each way can usually take around an hour and a half, maybe a little less. So maybe 4 is on the high end. But all of that just really made every early morning driving there, every late evening driving back, all the more acutely painful. The day ends up being 3 to 4 hours longer every time, and end up sitting with your thoughts and feelings and fears and concerns for that much longer every day too. Again, I think I had thought it would be reasonable. I think I also majorly underestimated how long I would have to keep doing that drive for. I think, like every optimistic searcher, I assumed I could get in, maybe a few months in, scale it back to a few days a week, and probably just stay stable from there. I wasn't intending to do 0 days a week, but just thought it would not have to be every day. And for probably nearly 12 months, I was going up just about every day, other than maybe sleeping a night in my cot in my office up there too.
Struggle was real for you for a bit, wasn't it?
It was very real. I joke about myself saying, like every optimistic searcher, I assumed I could be there a few days a week. I do say that jokingly because I did know that it was going to be a challenge I had never done before. I've never taken over a business, I've never run a business. My background was running real estate investments. So I had done effectively running a business, but from a very high spreadsheet level. So I knew all of it was going to be new and challenging. And I always say I knew it was going to be harder than I could imagine. And then I say, and it was harder still. So I think I expect it to be deeply challenging, very difficult. And I think it still was even more challenging and more difficult than I expected. As far as things actually penciling, as you mentioned, like numbers wise, no, even that, we experienced a bigger drop in my first 12 to 18 months than I expected. I expected sort of transitional shock waves through it all. I underwrote all of that accordingly, but we had, during due diligence, entirely unrelated to the sale, we had a salesperson leave to get married in a different state. And as part of that, we only have one salesperson. The sellers helped hire. They did great. She put in a ton of effort, but it just never quite worked out. And that led to a bigger dip than I was expecting in that transition, practically on the numbers side too.
Looking at that, considering you only had one salesperson, would you have made a different decision getting into this? Or, I mean, looking back now, do you think you still made the right decision taking the leap?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. Because it's something I thought a lot about. I think it's easy to jump in and not regret things, just say, could have known any better, whatever. I do think there was, and I think I thought that way for a while. There was a point probably 12 months in, which was probably my lowest point. Although also the point where I was finally making the moves to make changes. where I realized that I think I might regret having done this. And in some ways, that was actually really helpful for me to say out loud, as opposed to just, oh, I couldn't have done any better or whatever. It was like a moment of, no, actually, I probably should have killed the deal, when I realized that we're a multi-million dollar revenue business that relies solely on one salesperson. That one salesperson did a great job growing the company. He was very integral to the performance over the sort of 3 years I'd underwrote, and he was leaving. And I probably should have killed the deal at that point. At this point, things have turned around majorly. I love my role. Numbers are great. That I think I might feel differently and say, I'm glad I jumped into it. But I think it definitely made things unnecessarily challenging at times, in a way that every business has its challenges, but not every business has a key employee leaving knowingly. Like, I knew that ahead of time. It wasn't a surprise. Like, we knew it during diligence. I could have avoided it. I think I probably could have avoided that. Looking back, it grew me a lot more as a leader. It made our company a lot more resilient in the things we worked through. It paved the way for where the company and my role happily are today. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a mistake.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With every struggle comes great things, and I solely believe that. So I enjoy hearing, that little vision, that light, that beautiful light at the end of the tunnel. It got a lot smaller on my way there, almost a minute. What came out at the end a lot stronger than you did coming in. So
Yeah, and there were genuine times where, like, yeah, I felt like I lost that light, and that was scary. Where it was like, okay, I know this is going to be hard, but we'll turn the corner. And there were moments, again, sort of 6 to 12 months in, where I just genuinely lost the light. I'm like, I don't know if I have the skill set. I don't know if the business has the resiliency. I don't know whatever, if the market can support us turning the corner and me even getting this business back to the value I bought it at. Thankfully, we figured all those things out. But there was a period, I think that was the worst period, where it wasn't just, great, we're on a downward trend, but that's fine, we'll rebound. We see all the lights at the end of the tunnel. It was very hard, but it was bummer. We're in a downward trend. And I'm realizing that, yeah, operating a business is harder than I thought. I'm really good at the numbers. I'm really good at the financials. And the operating side is something that I'm actually not sure I can quickly and easily figure out to the way that the business needs me to.
yeah, no, for sure. And I want to dive into that a little bit, because that was a struggle on its own, becoming that leader. I remember you talking about this on the other podcast, that, stepping into this role, people there, employees, salespeople, whoever it might be, they may not have looked to you as a leader, and that was challenging for you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think there's two facets of that. One being, yeah, the way people viewed me, and two being my actual skill set. They're intertwined, but different. So the way people viewed me, at least, I'm young. I closed in the business when I was 27. Almost our entire office staff leadership team was older than me. We had some, not like majorly older, not what you think of a 60-year-old guy who's been there, but 40s, 50s, and even our technicians were all sort of about my age. So now all of a sudden, the guy who was 2 or 3 bosses above them was their same age and had no real experience in the industry. Again, I was familiar with real estate development, construction, all sorts of things, running a business, but had not earned my chops in the way that the previous owners had as they built the business from scratch, knowing how to do all the work, every facet of the business, etc. On top of that, I know the journey helped reveal to me how much of a people pleaser I am, both just in my natural disposition and especially when I was afraid of retention risk in buying a business 70 miles away from home. 1 employee left. I live far away. I don't know all the skills. Not only in my personal life do I like when people like me, but now is actually like really tangibly important that people like me. I thought. So I think all of those things combined to me being sort of young, sort of surprising to people, sort of very nice, not maybe like a strong leader, which I think in one way is just going to always be a part of my leadership style. I'm just not a strongly opinionated, speaking my mind kind of guy. I tend to be tactful. I tend to be slowly thoughtful. Part of that is just a real part of me, but there's part of that that I really had to work through because, yeah, it was hard to, I think for a while, I think people did start to like me right away. But when it came to making hard decisions, when it came to doing things that were unpopular, it didn't feel like I had earned people's liking of me. I had not earned people's trust or respect of me, that they were just going to say, okay, we might disagree with this, but we're going to go along with it. I got a lot more pushback when I would have to make hard decisions than I think I sort of expected. Came to realize, again, my fault for the ways that I had been maybe a little bit too bending along the way, that when I actually had to put my foot down on something, it was unusual and surprising to people and they didn't know what to do with it. So that's one part of it. The other part of being the operator is, again, I had operated a portfolio of real estate investments before, and I think I really genuinely thought I was a good operator. I think I've actually always thought of myself as a really good worker. Like I'm a good get stuff done kind of guy. Every job I've ever had, bosses can always trust me to like get it done and do it very well, which I think in my mind made me think I was an operator. That said, there's still this entire part of me that wanted to quit my job and buy a business and all these more sort of visionary parts that I maybe didn't realize were as strong as they were in me and were maybe a little bit in contrast to some of the operating. And yeah, getting into the business day one, I just realized I am far better at looking at the numbers. I'm far better at looking at the broad strategy, and I'm a lot less good at actually leading the team to get there. Like setting that vision for the team, even explaining it to them, telling people when something needs to change. Again, I was really good at affirming people, but all the things I felt a little like, okay, I don't want to surprise you with this grand vision I have. I don't want to tell you you're doing something slightly wrong. Those things were a big challenge for a while. I've grown in them plenty over the last 2 years via just on the job experience, a lot of prayer, a lot of counseling, but for a while, those things definitely did not come naturally. And I think I'm still, for better for worse, growing, but I've made a lot of progress on so that natural skill set of things too.
That's good to hear. I mean, as far as implementation of certain things, maybe pivots that you had to make yourself a little more present or have yourself be that figure, that, leadership figure to the rest of the staff. What did you have to implement? I mean, you did talk about being there a little bit more, a little more involved with the employees, maybe sharing, some personal stories. I don't know. Talk a little bit about what you did to
Yeah,
shift.
no, it's a good question. I think I had already generally a lot of the personal stuff I was good at from day one. I think I just saw literally today some quote on teamwork on LinkedIn that was like caring for the people personally and professionally. And I feel like early on I had shown, I think, I don't know, my team might tell you otherwise, but my default is good on the personal side of care. Again, I'm really good at my own work, and then I'm pretty relational. The actual leading people professionally was the very new part to me. So I do think people generally felt like they knew me, heard me. My team would always make fun of whatever sort of nerdy book I'd be reading at the moment. Like we had that good personal rapport. I know all my quickly and still now, but knew all my employees' significant others' names and kids' names and all that stuff. So I think I had done all that. And I think in my mind, I'm a very trusting person. That felt like enough to me. It was like, great. I know them, they know me. And I think I just really underestimated how much they're still looking to me to basically be their job security. And it was a lot more than realizing that I was a nice guy who knew the name of their spouse. They wanted to see that, yeah, I did lead it well, that I did care about them in hard times, that I think maybe some of those more professional things that, well, I do think I actually was skilled at looking at numbers, analyzing decisions, those kinds of things. I didn't present myself in a way that showed some of that confidence. And I think that led to lack of their confidence in me. Again, never to crisis scenarios. Almost everyone is still with the company, but just ways that made things bumpier for a while. Yeah, I mean, the most practical decision I made was going up there every day for a while when I really thought I'd quickly sort of scale back to working from home a few days a week. The sellers of the business had young kids and they were sort of always running around. They maybe were in the office 15 to 20 hours a week, but that might have been every day. They were just popping in, popping out. They were busy. So I think I thought I could sort of do the same number of hours. And yeah, I practically made or tangibly made the decision to spend a lot more time in person, getting their respect in person, getting to know them in person, showing them me and my leadership and my constancy in person. The only, I think that was good and necessary at the time. I do think, and I don't, still haven't quite figured out how to parse this out, but that there was ultimately drawbacks where I knew I could not sustain being in person forever, just given how far away I lived, given that we were trying to grow the business down towards where I lived, all of those things. That being all day in person every day for a while, spending nights up there, being very involved, I think at times when I had to draw back to do things that were more my skill level, look at the financials, those things, it made it harder because I showed them that I was so involved in everything that they liked that and wanted me to be involved in everything. So then when I finally had earned their trust and tried to empower them, delegate to them, that was actually a little bit harder for a while because of I was so involved to begin with.
Fast forward to today. I mean, 2 years in, are you going in every day?
Coming up on 2.5 years at this point, and no, not at all. I mean, basically a half day a week max. Um, I we operate an EOS, which you're probably familiar with, and we have an L10 meeting every week. And as of now, I go to this like post L10 meeting that I join in, but I'll probably be switching to joining that L10 meeting every week. I mean, for the last few months, I haven't even attended that, but I'll probably start attending that again, and that will be the majority of my time there. It is still at this moment the majority of like where my time is spent, like when I'm at home, when I'm on my computer, when I'm having meetings with people. It's all still related to the business, but I've just worked to build a management layer so that I am a lot less necessary there in the day to day.
Well, that's great, and that was necessary.
Yeah,
That's great to hear. Now, long-term vision.
yeah,
How does that look now? I guess a lot more optimistic,
a
right?
lot more optimistic. It is fun, and I think that was part of maybe the tension I felt for a while when it was really hard is because I still really was confident in the success of the business that we had. Like I knew this business could be good and I just had to figure out how to do it well. And part of that meant hiring the right people for my weaknesses. Part of that meant me learning and growing as a leader. But now that I've learned and grown plenty and have plenty more to do and have hired great people beneath me, I am a lot more optimistic of where we are. I think we've sort of rebounded out of where we were, and now we're poised to grow well. We have a team to grow well. We have a team to support it. We won't be flying by the seat of our pants. Like we're structured very well to continue the growth we've been on. Right now, we serve a local market of ours called sort of Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, for listeners who might be familiar. Denver is like a larger metro area, 70 miles south where I am. So we're actively trying to grow there pretty much as soon as we can. For people that want to franchise something, start once we get a good blueprint down, we have a great business that serves a pretty small market at really great revenue and margin numbers that I think could be easily replicable. So I'm looking into that option. But yeah, exciting sort of new terrain for the business ahead. And I love the role that I'm in now, which sort of allows me to work on dreaming and coming up with those things. Again, I think sort of getting back to look at the numbers, making the projections, and also sort of getting a dream. I'm sure my employees get annoyed by my dreams at some point, but I'm glad to be dreaming again, where for a while I wasn't. So that's that. There might be side things where I help others buy other businesses at this point too. But again, right now, the business has big growth goals and it's fun to get to be a part of dreaming those.
That's great to hear. I do want to ask you one last question about where you are right now. Is there anything that you find maybe not many people are using as AI goes?
The big thing I'm working through right now, which again is sort of part of my new role, is I think just today actually finalized sort of some custom software that we're making via Replit and all these other random AI things that have been hugely helpful. And I think that's probably, I think I struggle to answer the question because I don't exactly know what other small businesses, especially like mine, are using in-house, but I don't think a lot of other groups our size, which is not that big, are custom building their own apps for a few $100 on Replit. And in some ways, it's been a nightmare. It's taken me way longer than I expected, but in some ways, probably come tomorrow, we'll have a great custom app that costs a few $100 and exactly fits what we need it to do, as opposed to trying to fit square pegs into round holes with software we could buy elsewhere. So that's probably the big one. And I do just, even my team in the office, even things as basic as trying to respond to a customer, a difficult customer, by talking to ChatGPT or Claude or something about, hey, how do I format this in a way that's communicates well? Obviously, a very basic use of AI, but I think I continue to be somewhat surprised by how few people I think are doing that in their professional lives.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes the workforce isn't there, right?
Yeah.
Hiring somebody to take something on that realistically could be a couple $100, like you said, to, to automate. So why not? And I mean, it did take you longer probably to get that all sorted out, but you're learning in that process as well. Jeremy, it was great to hear your story, and I'm glad that you guys are where you are now after, 2 years, and that was a lot of struggle. And I'm glad to hear, you're dreaming again, and you're making things happen and you're optimistic about the future. That's great.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Absolutely. I'll put your information in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out, they can do so.
That'd be great.
So thanks, Jeremy.